Hello and welcome back to All Things Money. I'm your host, David Blain. Thank you for joining us today for our final segment of the show. If you missed the first two segments, we talked a little bit about the last week in the markets and the Treasury debt rating and what effect it didn't have on the markets. We also talked a little bit about not investing based on past performance, and we talked a little bit about hedge funds. If you missed those segments, please go visit us on the web, www.dlblain.com. There you'll find archived copies of the show, a little bit of information about myself as well as my company. We provide wealth planning services and investment management to people in all over the country. We provide these comprehensive services. The name of our firm, wealth planning is one of the most overused, overrated. In fact, I was reading a study the other day that somebody did. Approximately 93% of the firms out there that use wealth management in the name of their company don't do wealth management. They simply are gathering assets. True wealth management is taking a holistic look at a client's financial picture and advising them on, investments, cash flow, taxes, estate planning, all these type of things. And at our firm, we have expertise in all those areas in the true sense of wealth planning. In fact, during this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about one of those areas, kind of move away from the markets for a few minutes and talk about something we had, unfortunately, about 2 weeks ago, a client pass away. And this, over the years, has become, unfortunately, one of our specialties is dealing with the clients who a husband or wife has passed away. We have a lot of our clients are widows or single women through divorce or death, things like that. And so this is one of the areas of our expertise. And I thought it'd be useful. It just reminded me, we haven't talked about this in a while on the show, to go over a couple of things that you want to do, what we would call an estate planning checklist, things that you want to do to make sure that your estate is in order. And of course, the number one thing is make sure that you have a will. If you do not set out in your will what happens to your money and your possessions, the state will. Especially the state being the state of North Carolina, if you die in North Carolina. It's especially important to name some guardians for your children. If you would like someone in particular to look after your children if you have minor children. It's very important. It's not a requirement to have a will, but for a relatively modest amount of money, it's better for you to decide where your funds go than leave it up to the state to decide. Number two would be make a living will. A living will is your desire. The other name for it is a declaration for a desire for a natural death. And in it, you lay out what you would like done, withhold feeding, withhold water, those type of things. And it really helps the people around you that have to make these decisions. Then they know clearly what your desires were. You want to make sure you have a durable power of attorney. And what that is you give someone the power to make financial decisions to you. If you become incapacitated. There are two types of this, one to deal with financial decisions and the other to deal with health care decisions. They don't have to be the same person that you name, and they can be what's called springing or durable, meaning they're in place currently. The springing one that we don't generally recommend those. It's where you would give someone a power of attorney only if a medical person certifies that you meet certain requirements. And what we generally see is that when that happens, the delay in time and people don't have the documents or things like that, we recommend that you find somebody that you can trust, your spouse hopefully, and you talk about it and you give them the document ahead of time so that they can manage your financial affairs. If you are incapacitated, they can get money, they can help make decisions. Of course, if you don't trust your spouse or you don't have anyone, you've got to be careful. Anyone you give this power of attorney to can do things with your money. But all in all, it's a very good It's a very good idea to have. You can keep a letter of instruction. You know, the will, we want to keep the will to things that need to be in the will, frankly, and the letter of instruction is generally left with, in your will. You may indicate that there is a letter, and in that, you know, you can get very specific about things that you desire, but it doesn't bind your executor to it. Or, for example, if something is not there, if you say, well, I leave this ring or this bracelet or things like that, those are typically just left in a list that you can change at will, no pun intended, but change when you want to, rather than putting all that stuff in the will, because if you want to change your will, you've got to go back to the attorney and change it. But if you just have a letter of instruction, most of the time that will suffice. Establish a trust if appropriate. A trust, and I'm not going to get into all the details, but the trust is a legal entity separate from yourself that can hold your assets. It can be either a living trust, meaning established and funded during your life, or a testamentary trust. And what I want to talk about real quick is a service that we offer that no one else in New Bern and the Eastern North Carolina is able to offer, and is the trust services. Through our partnership with the Charles Schwab Trust Company, we're able to offer local management of people's trust assets while retaining that corporate trustee. The Schwab Trust Company functions as the administrative trustee, making sure that the accounting is done on the account, preparing tax returns, things like that. But we are able to manage the money locally. We are the local interface with you if you're the beneficiary of the trust, or your children at some point who are the beneficiary of the trust. And the advantage of this is currently, at least where we are, there are no trust companies that operate in our local area. And so if you have a trust or name a corporate trustee, such as some big bank, the trust officer is going to be in Raleigh or Wilmington or some other location. And so we worked with the Charles Schwab Trust Company to make sure that we had this offering available to people in Eastern North Carolina. And it's a great option. We encourage you to contact us if you would like more information about it. But we think it's going to be a great service to the people of Eastern North Carolina. That's the trust services that we offer. Okay, well, we're running out of time here for today. We'll probably continue our discussion about estate planning. I've got about 25 things here that I want to get to. So hopefully you'll tune in again next week. So for All Things Money, I'm David Blain, and we'll see you next week.
The proceeding was a paid program. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of WNBU and Inner Banks Media.